So welcome to this particular episode of Bad Decisions with Jim Banks. I have got a first today. I've got more than one guest on today. So I have no idea how this episode is going to go down. It could go amazingly well, in which case I'll do more of them moving forward. It could be the worst experience I've ever had in my life, but we'll just kind of give it a go and see what we end up with. But I had the opportunity a few weeks ago now to attend an affiliate event in London called Affiverse, which was a new event. We'll talk about that on the show. But I had the opportunity to have a couple of drinks at the after party with the three ladies that are on this show now. And I put the idea to them about, why don't we record a podcast episode? It's called Bad Decisions with Jim Banks. They all were sort of with me. So they were all making bad decisions. So I just thought it'd be a really, really good episode to kind of pull the three of them on. And I'm delighted to have Sara, Taryn, and Kali as my guests today. So who wants to say hello for posterity? Come on, somebody.
Oh, we're all
yeah, I'll start it. Well, thank you, Jim, for having us on. It was a pleasure to see all three of you at Elevate in London, and I'm just so happy to be here. I think this is going to be fun.
Oh, that's it. It was called Elevate, wasn't it? Not my bad.
Elevate, yeah. Well, it's Affiverse supported it and Lead Gen World, so it's
yeah. And so Sarah helped keep that on, so she should know the name. You know, I just go up to things.
So Taryn, tell us kind of where you are and hello, by the way.
Hi. I'm Taryn Stoddard, the owner of the Kaiju Group agency. I'm located in St. Augustine, Florida. Woo woo.
It looks like it's sunny there.
It is perfect weather today. What's it outside right now? Oh, it's 77 degrees and very little humidity. Oh. Absolutely gorgeous. I cannot complain.
I absolutely hate you. I'm going to kick you off this podcast episode right now.
I mean, we have another hurricane coming, if that makes anybody feel better. You know, it's the positives and the negatives of Florida. I think there is another one that's going to hit South Florida sometime soon. This is really late in the season to do so, though.
And Kali.
I'm Kali Ashford. I am the founder of Ad Media Cards, where we manage payments for companies that buy ads on Google and Facebook. I've worked in the payment industry for about 20 years now and been managing Ad Media Cards for the last almost 9 years. Today I'm in Malta at a conference, and it's warm-ish weather, so can't complain.
You moved, haven't you? Didn't you move?
Yeah, so I recently just moved to West Palm Beach.
Is that to be near Donald Trump? Or should we just...
Oh, no election plaque.
I don't that those are the only two options that we had. That's my take on it. Yeah, other than that, I left Florida on the 5th on election day and went to Canada. That's how much politics.
There we go. I'm not planning. I'm not talking at all about politics on this particular episode, because I just find the whole thing so depressing, really. But anyway, that's by the by. So I butchered your name, right? And are you Sara or Sarah? Because I never know.
I was Sara, yeah. My name should be pretty easy, yeah.
Yeah, it should be.
And I didn't really say what I do, but I laughed because Kali, we've been calling her Kali for however many years. My gosh, is that Sigma. And fun fact, during COVID, I actually worked for them for a short time and put on another affiliate event. I don't know if you guys remember AGS, but so I'd basically been involved in every event in the industry for the most part.
Yeah, we do know that. Sarah knows everything that's going on.
So obviously that's who's on the show today. Again, I'm super excited to have everyone on today. I guess maybe to kind of sort of kick us off. I mean, you all know each other through the industry, right? But I think that the thing that kind of binds you all together is LinkUnite, right? So Sara, you're one of the co-founders of LinkUnite, and perhaps you can kind of just talk to us a little bit about that and kind of what the motivation for setting it up was, right? Because I've been in the industry a long time. We've all been in the industry a long time, right? I've never really thought about the kind of the disparity between male and female people in the industry, right? To me, it's always been an industry where I've surrounded myself with people, and I've never really considered the kind of the color of their skin or the gender that they are, right? But as a white man, it's probably easy for me to kind of make that sort of assumption, right? Talk to me a little bit about LinkUnite while I put the shovel down.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that because when all three of us ladies started, there was very, very few women in this industry. And that's sort of how LinkUnite began because we wanted to have some sort of support for women, draw more women into this industry and lift them up, get more women on stages, support women starting their own businesses. And so that's really where LinkUnite came from. I'm located in Massachusetts and we were at LeadsCon in Boston. And we just started making notes on a napkin of all the women that, we knew that Amanda Ferris and myself knew. Who do you know? Who did you meet? Is this woman, could she be part of our group? This kind of thing. And we wanted everybody essentially. We started to where we were drawing in director level and up women, and then we realized like we want everybody to be part of LinkUnite. And we have so many male partners and people like you, Jim, that support us, and so it's growing rapidly. We have a membership. We're doing a mentorship. I had a call this morning with a new event, MAU, that they're coming to us looking for speakers for their event, and that's what we're here for. We just want to elevate all the women in the industry and anybody that wants to be part of this group. So we're lucky to have people like Taryn and Kali a part of this.
Yeah, because I think I probably make the mistake of I called it an initiative, and I don't really. I mean, it's so when you filled in your bio, right, and your bios will obviously be on the kind of the site when we finish the episode. Like you call it a community of executive leaders, right? Which again, I think for me, it's I think that there has been women in the industry, but I think women in senior positions has been a little bit more challenging. And I just wondered if you could explain, because obviously Taryn and Kali, you both run your own businesses now, but you have worked with other people sort of previously, I presume. Yeah. So perhaps maybe you can kind of tell me a little bit about kind of the challenges of kind of coming into the industry. I mean, what did you do before the industry sort of existed for you, and how did you get into it?
Oh gosh. I mean, myself, I was an affiliate manager. And so that was when affiliate marketing first was born. And my gosh, I don't even want to say the year that was, because then we're going to be aging all of ourselves here. And I just really loved affiliate marketing. I was like, I knew nothing about this. When I was in college, I was taking business courses and I had to learn more. I had to know more about search engine optimization, the whole 9 yards. And then I met Misty Ward and Sean Collins. And so, I went to work for Affiliate Summit as part of that original team to grow that event. But, women just didn't have the same opportunities in this industry. I would say back 10 years ago. I don't know if that's fair enough to say that time range or so, but, there was very few men that were in CEO roles, COO roles. And so, LinkUnite was going to just help elevate that, give women those opportunities and, just the courage to step up and start their own businesses. When we started having calls about LinkUnite and getting on the phone with these women, we realized so many people needed so much support that we didn't even realize how much support they needed. And so it's just been quite the ride, and I love every minute of it.
So, Taryn, what sort of support do you get from LinkUnite?
What kind of support do I get? Oh gosh, so much. Anything from new client support, prospecting, to just management support, of how to handle different folks I work with, suggestions on just how to run my business successfully, what to look out for, what to prepare for, as a single business owner. That has been, and just in general, the support and having confidence that people think, I can do this. I can run a business. It's people are like, why aren't you doing this? That kind of thing. And then I just one day, basically, a friend of mine in the industry, Sylvia Lee, she's like, go get your LLC and I'll give you your first deal, like that kind of thing. She's like, let's do this, girl. You got this. I've known you for 20 years. Like, come on now. And so that's how that happened. It's just sometimes we do doubt ourselves. I don't know that I would say I had this kind of ideal of like imposter syndrome or anything like that, because I'm a self-confident individual, but it's just that, do I want to put all my eggs in one basket and just bet on myself? And you know what? When I started talking to folks about it, especially the ladies of LinkUnite, they're like, oh, hell yeah, girl, come on now. Like that was the general consensus. And that support alone, has allowed me to create the Kaiju Group, which has been wonderful. So I'm super excited about it. And I'm always happy to help anybody in our organization as well.
Jim, I just want to add another point too about the personal support that we're also bringing to each other. I mean, Taryn and Kali are moms, just like me, and we're working, we're juggling jobs, we're doing all these things, plus raising children, and just be able to text each other and get ideas. I mean, just that alone has been huge for me personally. Taryn, I text you a lot. It's like we're raising teenagers, and it's tough. So it's nice to be able to have other like-minded women to bounce ideas off of.
So Kali, how did you?
Yes. I mean, I've been in this industry probably almost as many years as Sarah. So, again, don't want to age us. But yeah, I remember in the industry, there weren't very many, like I entered the industry not as a C-level executive, just in an account management type role and going to the shows. And there weren't very many women. And the women that were in the industry, they weren't helping each other. They weren't in support of each other. They weren't anxious for other women to succeed and do well. Because if it meant they were doing well, then you're not doing well. And it was very much a competition. And I hated that so much. I'm not a competitive person. I love to see other people around me grow and do well, because the more they do well, the more I grow and do well, because it elevates them and then it elevates me as well. You surround yourself with people that are interested in doing well and doing more and being better, and you'll get there. And that's really what LinkUnite provided. That's really where they were like-minded women that wanted to see other women in the industry succeed and do well. Yeah. And that's where the mentorship program comes in. And it's so fantastic to just being someone who's been in the industry, to tell someone new in the industry, it's like, it's okay. I've been there. I get it. I know as women, we know it's hard to be taken seriously, whether we're 20 years old or 40 years old. We're not taking it seriously at 40 than we were at 20. And for men at 20 years old, it's a little bit difficult to be taken seriously. But at 40 years old, there's no problem.
Yeah, it's funny kind of correlation to how happy you are doing your job, right? So I was miserable, absolutely miserable. So I had the opportunity to kind of leave that and get involved in, I'll put digital marketing in inverted commas, because I don't really think the industry existed at the time. There was certainly no YouTube. There was no communities for executives of any description, right? I mean, my most recent podcast episode was with a guy called Brett Tabke, who was the founder of PubCon, right? And I mean, we talk about sort of the origins of PubCon back in sort of 2000, 2001. And, and it was just I mean, we used the term guys. I mean, it was a bunch of guys meeting in the pub, but it was a bunch of guys. I think there was probably like 2 women that came along, and the other 48 were men, right? And I think it's evolved, but it's still probably nowhere near where it ought to be, considering that, women are the kind of the dominant, but in terms of numbers, gender in the world, right? So I think for me, it's there's definitely work that still needs to be done to try and do that, elevating the kind of the presence of, women, because unlike a lot of other industries, ours is not an industry where how strong you are physically matters at all. I mean, I know, Taryn, you could probably like bench press more than probably all of us, right? But I think
Oh, you're funny. No, but to add to that, and this is the thing. I am very fortunate, and I know that. I mean, I got my start when I used to live in California. I got my start at iVillage e-commerce division in San Diego. Now, the main office was in New York, but San Diego handled all the e-commerce of iVillage, and I wanted to succeed in my career, and I moved up back to San Francisco. And I was so fortunate to have some guys at agencies when I got specifically involved in affiliate marketing who were my advocates, who did educate me, who did, in a word, protect me, because there were a lot of bad dudes out there. And if I made it known, like, hey, listen to how this guy's talking to me, or, presenting himself, and they're like, beat that guy, they really were like, you don't have to put up with that. We're not going to put up with that. We're not going to let you put up with that. So I've been very fortunate to have an awesome group of men and advocates in this industry, of the male persuasion. So which allowed me to build my confidence to help other women in our industry too. Because unfortunately, the women in our industry, we do talk, and we do know who the good guys and the bad guys are. It all comes down to references, and a lot of the time, there's different groups, whether it's on Facebook or on, in different chats that we have. We're like, hey, do you know this guy? Or have you heard this about this company or that? And we do give good and bad reviews, fair reviews, not, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like trying to get back at anybody, but like, just like, okay, yeah, no, that person has, they're legitimate, they pay on time, et cetera, because nobody wants to waste their time. But like I said, we utilize each other as a resource regularly when it comes to business. But you guys, it's funny because I have some clients who pitch offers to me, and as an agency and network, I will broker out offers. They're like, hey, can you ask the ladies if they'll run this? Do the ladies like this offer? And they're like, oh, if we can get in with that group, we'll have tons of traffic. So it is, it's definitely a force to be reckoned with. But like I said, I appreciate all the help I've gotten in this industry,
Yeah, so I always recall. So when I first started my very, very first agency, so I had 3 jobs in 18 months. I got laid off 3 months, right? And at the end of the 3rd one, I thought to myself, oh, fuck this. I don't want to kind of do this again. I don't want to kind of keep getting laid off by other people who don't really have my interests at heart, right? So I figured, I backed myself. I said, I'll just set up my own business. So I did. I set up my own business. I kind of moved into an office. I hired a guy who, again, he was probably the worst digital marketer I've ever worked with in my life, but he was honest, reliable, and trustworthy. And on that basis, it was like he was the best guy I ever had working with me, right? Because, there's a lot of skills you can kind of instill in people, right? And integrity, trust, honesty, they're the sort of things that people either have that baked in or they don't, right? And I don't think your gender matters, your color, and like none of that matters, right? You either are a trustworthy person, honest person, right? Reliable, and people can say, yeah, I want to do some business with that person, or you don't, right? So what was really interesting is, again, I think back then, there wasn't the kind of the resource pool that was available. I think as an industry, we were tiny, right? So there was no track record to say, well, this is the sort of person you want to try and attract to kind of come in, right? So for me, it was almost like God, I need to kind of employ people. So one of the first people I employed was my stepdaughter. And, she's a sort of very, very pretty blonde girl. And I had another girl in the office, and, we'd hired these 2 girls, and I'm doing some training, and I'm sort of sitting down and I'm doing some keyword research. And, there was a tool called Word. I think it was called Word Tracker, and they had a list of the top 100 keywords that existed, right? And obviously, on those would be things like sex and stuff like that. But one of the words that was on there was MILF, right? I had no idea what the word was. So I'm doing this. And what you do is you typed it into a search engine, and all of a sudden, oh my God, right? That I discovered. And I think in that respect, it's like you have to be respectful of the situation. So again, I've sold virtually everything you can think of under the sun, right? So I've sold loads of sex toys, Viagra, stuff like that. But the problem you have is that if you have people who are coming into your business, you have to respect their religious beliefs and all that. So you can't just go, look, we work on porn, so you just need to go and do this stuff because that's what we do, right? Because if people are uncomfortable with it, then that's not really helpful. Have you ever had any sort of situations where you've been asked to do something in the industry where you're going, I'm not comfortable doing that?
I mean,
Oh, God, yes.
Oh yeah. I was like, where do we start? Who's starting?
I think that it's important to understand boundaries and understand what your boundaries are and be open to listening to what other people's boundaries are. I think that especially for younger women, especially, it's harder to know what's okay to have is set boundaries. For people new in the industry, men and women, it's hard for them to know what those boundaries should be. Working the extra hours without getting paid, working on content that you don't agree with, whether it's political or adult or gaming or whatever that industry may be,
B2B
and just
information.
have to have the checkbox. Are you okay with MILFs?
But yeah,
Oh.
I've had the opportunity for my stepdaughter's been in the industry ever since then, right? And that was probably like 2002 or three. So she's been in the industry a long time, right? And I think because of that, I've had a good sounding board of trying to understand the challenges that some women face in terms of the industry, right? Because it's not always been sort of plain sailing, right? And and now she's married herself. She's got two small children. So I'm kind of doing granddad duties there. So I'm kind of taking on some of the responsibilities to enable her to kind of carry on working. I've got a bit more free time. So because I'm probably a little bit older and kind of grayer. So, I will sometimes pick the grandkids up from school and stuff like that and bring them home and feed them and what have you. Right. Because I have the flexibility of running my business to be able to kind of do that. Right. I can kind of choose what to do, when to do it, how to do it, who I want to work with, who I don't want to work with, right? So,
well, I was going to add also to some of this. I think one of the most uncomfortable conversations. I'll say one for me, and then one for a guy who used to work for me. So one of the things I remember being back in San Francisco, I was told one time, they're like, well, just use your feminine ways to make it happen. And I'm like, so I sat there with my smart assery and I'm like, what are my feminine ways exactly? I'd like to know, and it was almost expected of me at certain agencies to be flirty, to be super sweet and talk this way to get what I needed. And I'm like, first and foremost, if you know me, I'm like, I do not talk like that. I'm a nice person, very much. I'm all for compliments, but mama is sassy, and that's just how it is. And you know what? I quite like it. And most people around me do too. So no, I wasn't going to sit here and be fake about who I was and how I was. And I was told I should wear a dress more often so I would soften the blow. I'm like, the fuck? Like, it's just like, oh, why? I mean, because yes, I'm a very casual individual, but yeah, I do like to get decked out every so often. As some of y'all seen, I can clean up nicely and when I feel like it. But I don't want to be told what to do. What's that?
You do scrub up well.
Thank you. I do try sometimes, but it was so frustrating for me to just be face to face with that and have it be blatantly told. Now, the other side of thing is because, we are talking about women in this industry, but sometimes the poor guys, I had a kid, or I shouldn't say kid. He was, a young man in his 20s come work for me when I was out in San Francisco. And he interviewed for on the media buying team at one of the agencies I was working at. And he was coming from Friend Finder. And as most of us know, Friend Finder was about 5% friend finding and 95% adult friend finding. And so he was managing most of their ad placement and whatnot. He goes, and the first day he came in, I think it was the first day, let's just say it was, he goes, Taryn, thank you so much for hiring me. He goes, I got really tired of staring at naked people all day long and I could never show my work to my parents. It was so embarrassing. Like, you're welcome. I
Like,
He's like, you get tired of staring at boobs all day long.
I told you that one of the jobs that I got laid off 3 times in 18 months. One of the jobs that I had was working for this. It was a telecoms company, and they did basically premium rate dialers, right? So there was 2 industries that was really big on. One was gambling, right? So they had like tipster lines where people could phone up and get tips for the horse racing and stuff like that. And the other one was porn, right? So again, we were dealing with like bona fide porn barons. And I used to kind of like go and visit like people on site. So I used to go to warehouses where you'd have sort of like the fetish room where people would be sort of there with chains and whips. And I always figured that if you were sort of in this the room, that the women that would be in the room or the men that would be in the room, because it wasn't just for women, it was like whoever was in the room would be just dressed in normal sort of civilian clothes, but they were all dressed up in the sort of the gear that they would expect to be on, right? But what was really interesting, I kind of turned up for this job, right? So the guy who was my boss, he sort of said, "Oh, this is Ivan. There's the toilets over there. There's where you can go and get yourself a drink. Ivan's going to show you some porn, right?" And I basically sort of for probably the first couple of days, all I did was just spend all this time looking at porn sites. And I think eventually you become immune to what it is, right? It becomes, you just dial it out. It becomes, but I think had that been a sort of a woman in that position, I think that would have been the most uncomfortable sort of introduction kind of going, really. But but I think when I had I had an affiliate network, and one of the challenges was always like, your best affiliates, you would want to try and sort of entertain them in the best way that they wanted to be entertained, right? So, it would always be, you turn up to Las Vegas for affiliate summit, it'd be like, hey, we're going to go out, we can do a club, we can get a table in the club, we can go for a nice meal, right? And then we go, or we can go to a strip club. And because the majority of my affiliates were all young men, it was like, let's go to a strip club. I would find myself, and again, my sort of stepdaughter, we'd find ourselves in the strip club, and it's uncomfortable to be there. And again, I didn't really want to be there. I just would much rather not be there at all, right? And any of you know me now. I mean, Taryn, you know me all too well. I'm the mayor of the Chandelier Bar at the Cosmopolitan Hotel, and I never leave that bar, right? I mean, I've kind of like, I'm just there. And people say, well, where will you be? I'll be in the Chandelier Bar, right? Because I just don't want to go to strip clubs. I don't want to do clubs. I've done them all. I've done them to death. Yeah. So I think in some respects that was I know that was part of the affiliate manager's role, was to kind of put yourself into that position. I just wondered how you felt. Did you ever get asked to kind of do that? Was that something that you kind of got asked to do, and how did you feel about it?
I think we probably all have. I mean, we definitely, and it was acceptable, Jim, 15, 20 years ago to do that. But now it's not. You don't have to. We all felt back in the day we had to do that. And I don't bench press as much as Taryn, but like, I'm from Boston. I have older brothers. We were raised, I wouldn't mess with me. You know what I mean? And so I always was like, I go to these things. I go to the strip clubs with all the men, do all the parts I was supposed to play. But I was also like, don't fuck with me. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what we're trying to teach now, is that be careful of the situations you put yourself in. Nothing good happens after midnight. There's things that we have this book that it's like the secret book that us women have that we're sharing with, some of these new younger women coming into the industry. And there's things to do, smart things to do, and things not to do,
And also recently, like, I've been in a position where I was asked to sponsor an event that was associated with, or it wasn't associated with, but it was around affiliate world in Bangkok.
Mhm.
Right. And this event that this company wanted me to sponsor was known for having paid girls there. And I'm just like, I cannot sponsor this event. I absolutely will not. I cannot. I'm like, I'll probably end up going to the event because it's still networking. And that's where all the guys that I want to talk to are going to go. So I'm still going to go, but I couldn't sponsor it. I couldn't request anybody on my team, male or female, to go to this event because I'm going to risk being sued.
Yeah.
If I can't be, it's, oh, she made me go to this networking event with strippers and hookers. And it's no, I can't. In good conscience, I couldn't do it just because that's not what I want for this industry as a woman. I'm like, I thought we were past the strip club networking events. Nope, they're still happening.
Yeah, I think people still want to have the entertainment, but again, I just think that there are far better ways in which you can make that happen. I remember going to Miami and basically putting a card behind the bar to take a couple of affiliates to send them up to the VIP room. And I'm like, what do I need to do to get a drink round here? And the guy goes, give me $50. I'll go next door and get a bottle of vodka, right? So he went and bought a bottle of vodka and I sat there, just minding my own business. And I had no interest at all in being there other than to make sure that, the affiliates that I was trying to court were satisfied to this point that they would do business with me. And again, I look back now and think that was really quite seedy. But I look at it and go, it was $1,000 of expenditure to get about $500,000 in revenue. I'm like, that's a fair return, right? I think you have your own boundaries as to what you're prepared to do, what you're not prepared to do. So.
Yeah, and I was gonna add. I remember, and I know living out here in St. Augustine, Florida, is not as exciting anymore, and I don't see as many clients. But back in San Francisco, those would come into town. There's plenty to do, and I remember would take our clients or some of our publishers to like the Gold Club. Everybody has probably been to the Gold Club in San Francisco, and so things just start to get uncomfortable, especially as a woman. Like all of a sudden, the owner of one of the I should say the owner of one of my clients was then offered me $10,000 to give him a lap dance and do all this other stuff. And I looked at him and I'm like, nah, brah, like, I'm not going to do that. Okay. Like, let's do business and whatever. He's like, damn, I can't believe you wouldn't just take my money. And I'm like, no, I'm running a business here and I have other people working for me here. And so that's going to be the example that I show them. Come on now. And then other times, like, we'd bring other publishers there and then you'd be sitting there and then the strippers come up, the coked up strippers, right? And all they want to do is talk to you and be your best friend. Now, for a woman, this gets very, very annoying after a certain time. And then they start saying completely inappropriate things like, oh, you have sexual tension with your client and you guys should get together. And I'm like, okay, all right. After the fifth or sixth time of this kind of behavior, you're just like, okay, why am I subjecting myself to this? I still, add value to this relationship even if I'm not at this strip club. Hey, I'd rather give you a great meal. Maybe I'm boring now. I'd rather give you a great bottle of wine and a great meal and, talk about things that really matter in our lives as opposed to, oh, hey, now you've seen naked chicks, give me some more money. It's just after a while, it just gets so fucking annoying.
But I feel like we set down, Taryn, like I remember clients would be like, Sarah, we're not going to sign a contract with you unless you come up to the hotel, like come up to my hotel room, just, in Vegas, especially just come up to my hotel room. I'm in the suite, in the Bellagio. Like I give a shit that you're in the suite in Bellagio, but that's what they would do. Sign a contract, come up to and then when we just kept saying, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll sign the contract right here in the lobby. Then you kind of have this, then they're like, okay, we don't have to mess with her anymore. Like, you know what I mean? She set the ground rules. So hopefully we can teach that to everybody, that they don't have to put themselves in that position that we all been,
You don't want to go up to the room and see the balcony with the hot tub and watch the sunrise? Wait,
I mean, that? It's like, yeah.
I know this podcast is like, bad.
Wanted to.
But I will not say that I am like absolutely perfect. I definitely have seen sunrises in Vegas. I've watched many clients do illegal substances.
And for sure.
I don't need to tell anybody about it. That's their business. I've worked it up in the club, like, even in my 40s. But
amen, sister.
Yeah, right. We can still be fun, but it's like you said, it's honoring all those boundaries and whatnot. So I think that I mean, I think one of the funnest times I had was with Jimmy. Like he made me go to New York Buffalo Bills bar in Vegas to watch games. Like, and I walk in and I'm definitely not a Bills fan, but hey, we had a good old time. And these people were like yelling and whooping it up, and we were drinking bad beer, and we had to order pizza from next door, and equally as
So true.
oh my god,
Did
we
we
Jim?
lose Jim? Did we lose our host?
I don't know what happened.
Maybe this is part of it. It's supposed to be impromptu, and now we have to figure it
Yeah.
out.
We figure it out. I mean, let's be real, ladies. I mean, I remember some fun whooping up times at LinkUnite events as well. There is a picture with me in a statue, and I was like, "Oh, that one should not get out."
It's
They
okay
did
to have
actually-
fun.
I went my first LinkUnite event. I was like, okay, like I just come off of some other trade show events. I was like, okay, this will give me a break from drinking, right? I'm going to be around other women, not going to drink as much. That'll be great. I think I drank more there than I did at all the events combined for the last 2 months. And so I was
Listen,
supposed to.
it's about having fun, and it's safe fun. You know what I mean? That's what I love
Yeah.
about it. It's like we
Yeah.
can be together. We can do business out by the pool or wherever we are, whatever venue we choose, and it's comfortable. It's comfortable.
all-
Nobody has to wear heels.
200 women passed by.
Right. I like what's going on. Yeah, certainly. Although I know sometimes it gets a little dangerous when we're hiking in Arizona. I gotta hand it to the ladies who made it to the top of the mountain, because that was, oh my
That was
gosh, that was
tough.
like, I've never hiked in my life.
Well, what's funny about that, Taryn, is Amanda and I came in a couple days early, to get everything planned, and we hiked it. And I remember saying, like, this is not this is not an easy hike. Like, this is not like the hikes that some of these women go on. Like, I hope they're prepared. And I remember being worried about water and stuff like that. And so
Oh, true. Yeah.
definitely some women definitely turned around on that particular hike, the Red Rocks. Yeah, that was.
Oh, but no, as
crazy.
soon as they saw that the where you had to like hold on to scale that one rock,
Pull
I-
yourself.
it's like, nope.
Or the helicopter that was flying around, saving people that
Oh,
couldn't
dude,
get off.
he
That
got guided. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was so crazy.
dangerous.
their boundaries.
dangerous.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you're
Right. Right. And I'm all for pushing, right? Push yourself to do things that you don't normally do. But yeah,
A lot of you comfort
definitely-
zone.
yeah, and you know
True.
what? And
Me.
it built some bonds with folks. Oh, is Jim there? Is it
I
moving?
hope-
He's just not on video.
Just-
I saw some movement, but it builds bonds. I think when you try to do stuff out of your comfort zone, in a safe environment,
So true.
it builds bonds. It builds trust as well.
And that's how you connect. That's what the connection is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Those shared experiences, especially that get you out of your comfort zone. Yeah.
What
I think right
so-
now, the coolest thing for me right now about LinkUnite is the fact that, and the three of us probably know this better than anybody in this industry, is walking into a happy hour and actually knowing other females there. You know what I mean? Like, I remember going into happy hours by myself, no women to be found at all. You know what I mean? And so I think that's the best part. And we're searching out venues right now for LinkUnite 5 for 2025. So we're looking forward to getting that planned and sorted. Jimmy's back.
Don't know if, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Oh.
can hear you now.
I tell you what I did. I kicked the cable out of my, like at the back of the computer, and like, bang, it all went black. But obviously you guys were still on here, but that's good. Apologies for that. That's the problem.
Yeah, no worries.
We thought this was part of the show.
Yeah, we were testing our podcast abilities.
Yeah, it's like we have this a program called Big Brother. I don't know if you have it over in the States, where basically they just get a bunch of extroverted people into a house, they throw in a bunch of booze, and then just walk away and leave them to it. So maybe I've done the same thing with you ladies. Just left you in the room. Unfortunately, I didn't leave you with cocktails, but I've left you in the room, left you to your own devices. But yeah, I was able to hear what you were saying. Again, I love the fact that you just picked things up and just kept going without me even being here. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I won't even need to be on the show. I can just have you guys do the whole thing for me.
We thought you were testing us, Jim. We thought maybe it's okay. Let's see how well these women can handle this without a man.
Listen, I know you all well
Really?
enough to know that you would absolutely have no issue at all whatsoever with handling whatever gets thrown at you. So I guess I have one burning question. So I mentioned I've got grandkids. So one of my grandchildren she's 7, nearly 8. So she, in probably maybe 10 or 11 years time, she's going to be starting to think about leaving school, going to find a job. What would you say? I mean, hopefully this episode will be in there for posterity forever, right? So I'm trying to kind of plant the seeds now to kind of help pave the way for people like my granddaughter to have a future. Because I love this industry. I mean, I think it's been phenomenal for me. I've made so many great friends, right? I look at the kind of the business side of it as a kind of byproduct of the friendships that I've made. I mean, I've made some amazing friends, including you three. And, and I hope to kind of continue to kind of evolve that relationship. But what would you recommend for young people now who may listen to this episode, whether it's like now or sometime in the future? What would you recommend that they do to sort of set themselves up to get on and do well in this industry?
I think it would be about finding an angle that they can be passionate about. I think that I have 2 teenage kids. They're 14 and 15, amazing kids. And as I know, Sarah and Taryn have amazing kids as well. All of us have teenagers, and they're all in that stage where they're, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? So I think we're all starting to have those conversations with our kids now. I think
we got to
with
meet
that,
Sara's kids. Like you brought them to London, didn't you?
Yeah.
We got to sing happy
Yes,
birthday.
I did.
Yeah, I think that it's important that our kids look at, I love this industry too. It's why I've stayed in it for 20 years. There are aspects of it that I don't particularly like, but as a whole, I can't imagine not working in payments, right? For my kids, I want to best encourage them to find what inspires them, what motivates them, what moves them. And I had my kids, they took an entrepreneur class when they were like 8 years old. It was a kidpreneur class. And it was like, okay, 3 things that you love. And then the next step was to come up with 3 problems for each of those 3 things that you love. And now come up with a solution for each of those problems. And that's your entrepreneur idea. Because you're going to solve that problem. It's not just you that has that problem. It's going to be something you love. So you're going to be motivated to get up every day and work for it and make it work and scalable, and how you can best service a problem and fix that problem that exists. I think that's more important than pushing my kids to follow in my steps and work in payments. You know, like my son came up with an amazing idea for Lego. I don't know how to make it come to fruition, but he wanted a Lego 3D printer because if you lose a piece to a set, the entire set's useless, right? So if you had a Lego licensed 3D Lego licensed plastic material, and you could just pay $2 and have the Lego printed right there in your home without calling up Lego, having them send you a piece, whatever. Build a custom set, whatever. It was a brilliant idea, right? Because he loves Legos, but he hates that if he loses a piece, he can't build it anymore.
Yeah.
Let's find something you love, find a problem, come up with a solution.
I think a lot of people think they're the only people that have that problem, but most people experience, or a lot of people experience the same problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not the only one with the problem.
So true.
That's great.
Sarah, did you want to go next, or?
No, I was just gonna say, talk to anybody. That's my advice that I tell my kids now. You know, she's on the college hunt right now. She's a senior in high school, and my son's right behind her as a junior. And I say, talk to anybody, because you're going to go into a room and, you know, you're kind of taught like who you should talk to and who you shouldn't talk to kind of thing. But I'm throw that out the window. Talk to everybody. I think I've made some crazy connections over these years in this industry by just walking up to these random people and having a conversation and getting to know them, especially in the event industry. Just people working at the venues that we've had events at. I mean, they shoot me texts to ask about my life and my kids, and I see them once a year, maybe once every 3 years. You know what I mean? It's talk to anybody because you know what, we're all in this together. The way I look at it, and you might network and meet somebody randomly that down the road they're going to be able to give you some sort of an intro that's crucial. So be open to anybody.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I love that. I mean, and it's funny because maybe it's like my place to say like what I'm thinking now too. My boys are a little bit younger, so they're 11 and 13. But what you're saying, finding things that you're passionate about. If anybody watches me on social media, they know my older son loves heavy metal and rock and plays guitar, and he's diehard into all of that. My younger one he's into baseball. He's playing on 2 teams right now. And he's not the best, he's not the worst, but you know what? He's super passionate and improves every single day. And then, it's like, hey, you're trying to, if you can talk to this person and this coach, you will learn this from that guy. And then you talk to the other coach, you're learning other basic skills too. Just like with Kai, he has 2 different guitar teachers as well, one at school and then one that we personally pay for. But utilizing all of those, but then also your follow through and just making sure that you do the work. Now, whether it's practicing, things you're passionate about, or just turning things into a client. That's the difference between closing the deal is actually doing the work versus, saying the yada yadas, so it's, being consistent with actually being passionate, utilizing your resources, and then doing the work on top of which. And I said, so I think that if you can find all 3, you're going to be very successful, regardless if it's this industry or whatever industry you go into. That would be my advice.
I went to school and I had a really good education paid for me, but I just decided that I was far more interested in sports, in women, smoking, drinking, all those sorts of really bad things for you. And consequently, I left school with virtually no educational qualification. So my education has really been an education of life, right? And it's always difficult. I mean, when you've had success in business that, came in spite of your education, not because of it, right? It's very difficult because like I've got 2 older grandchildren who went to private school and they were like, why do I need to go to private school? Granddad, you do well, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, don't kind of use me as the kind of the template for what success looks like, right? So it's not always going to be the same way. Sometimes it will, and that's fine, but sometimes it's really not, right? I think sometimes it is. Again, I've always maintained you got to be trustworthy, reliable, work incredibly hard. I mean, I've worked so hard since I started working, and I really wish if I could have applied myself at school the same way I did at work, I'd probably been the smartest person in the world. But I just had no interest. And I think it's I go to school reunions and I remember turning up to a school reunion in I think 2002 or 3 or something like that. And one of my teachers, I turned up in an Audi convertible, and one of my teachers was looking, and I always make a point. The first time, whenever I see teachers now, I always make a point of apologizing for being such a dick at school, right? Because I really was. I was a complete and utter arse at school, right? My teachers hated me, I'm sure at the time, but they've said, it's fine. You've turned out okay, and that's all we look for when it comes to it, right? So I think
I can hope
that's the only thing that kind of matters. So obviously, like with LinkUnite, it's a executive leadership. I want to call it I can't. It's a bit like I always call X Twitter, and I'll always call Meta Facebook, right? So it's like I'll always call LinkUnite an initiative. So a community of executive females, right? So if people were kind of interested in getting involved in it, what's the kind of the best way for them to do that?
Oh, give me a call. Just call me, reach out. I'm the most accessible person in this industry. I feel like, well, we all are, Skype, email, text, WhatsApp, whatever you want to use. That's what we do. We spend a lot of our time just having phone calls with people, and we're helping. The mentorship has been crucial with entry level people coming into this industry or middle of the road, replacing them with some fabulous mentors in this industry and so that they can learn. But yeah, definitely reach out to either Amanda or myself. Get on the phone with you and figure out what you want to do and help you in any way we can.
And bearing in mind that there are probably hundreds of thousands of men like me who are bumbling their way around trying to see how they can support the women in the industry. What would you say the best way men in the industry can support the women in the industry?
So right now, I think an awesome initiative is the corporate membership package that we're offering. It's pretty well low cost, and it's 6 individual memberships. And so what companies are doing that don't have that many women working for them, they're gifting them out. So we have a lot of male partners that are joining up as our corporate members and then kind of giving out memberships to their clients. I have a call tomorrow with a new woman that's just joining, and she was gifted a membership. She knew nothing about LinkUnite, and she's so excited to meet everybody and join the tribe. So I would say that's definitely the best thing. Support a woman, let her get into the membership and reap the benefits.
Yeah, probably because I'm like an old fart, but again, I was brought up in a certain way to be very chivalrous. And again, if we were living in the times of putting down your cape in front of a puddle to allow a woman to step over it, that would be me, right? I'm that kind of guy. But I think a lot of women don't like that, right? They I don't need you to put your jacket down for me. I can quite happily walk through the puddle on my own, right? So again, how do you suggest men navigate that?
Well, I'm going to say that.
Yeah, I was like, let Taryn talk on this.
That's okay. I was just going to say, you know what? I still am a person who believes that manners go a long way. As somebody who's highly independent, I come from a big city and all that and can handle my way. But gosh, darn it, raising my boys to have manners goes so far. I have people constantly coming back to us and say, wow, you know what? They say their please and thank yous. They're pleasure to be around. I mean, they're rowdy too, but you know what? They know their place to do it. So what I was going to say is that, look, we are, many of us are individuals who are very independent and very intelligent in our industry. The women are, a majority of which I've met are, highly intelligent, but allowing them to speak and using your manners in doing so. Stop speaking over people constantly, and trying to re-explain what they're doing. Just allow the woman to speak and say her piece. If you have a question, just ask them the question just like you would a man. I want to confirm what you're saying here. Da, 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 da. Please, that's why I love hanging out with you, Jimmy Banks. Banksy, you do have the manners. You do introduce us to everybody who's around. I absolutely adore being around you because you have that chivalrous way about you. And I don't want that to change, man, at all.
Bless you.
And I love it when I see other men do the same thing.
Yeah, and I'm not doing it because for any other reason than I just love the people I work in this industry with, right? Just hands down. Great people.
I think it's respect and show up and support each other. All 3 of you showed up to Elevate, a brand new event that Leah and John Stone, was doing. I mean, that's so crucial, right? We were all there to support that new event and showing up and having respect for each other, whether you're a man, woman, whatever, you know what I mean? Just have respect. Life is not easy, so let's just be respectful for each other. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and I know that that you posted something on LinkedIn about her, but like we lost one of our industry colleagues, Deborah Carney, who used to run the affiliate network Loxley. She was like a larger than life character and will be sorely missed by the industry. But to me, it just like highlights how important it is to live your life and do the best you can, because we're not around forever, right? We're all going to at some point in time tap out and head off. You want to try and make sure that you leave the world in a better place as a result of you being here than than going, do you remember that douchebag that we all hated? He's gone now and we're glad to see the back of him, right? You just don't want to be that person, right? And we all know in this industry, there are people like that people don't like the way they do business. They don't pay their bills and all that sort of stuff. And that reputation will follow you around, right? And I don't think, again, that's not a gender thing. It's not a, it's just some people are just naturally not nice people.
Yeah. And I would also like to add, to be supportive and to talk some of your favorite females up. A lot of the times I still go to events and I'm very quiet. Like I know what I do. I know I can talk to a wall if I need to, but I just kind of let my reputation precede me now because I've been doing this a long time. But, you still get young bucks, if you will, in the industry. Like, oh, what do you do? What do you know about this industry? And I love, and I'll use the Optismo guys as an example. Like they're like, oh, don't start with Taryn. just stand here. They're like, you're barking up the wrong tree. They're like, she's been doing this a long time. And as soon as like, I get this other like street cred from my male colleagues in the industry, all of a sudden, the tone, the ego gets dropped and then just business ensues.
Yeah, I think what really kind of highlighted, we opened an office in Hong Kong, and one of the things that I obviously flew over there, I took my stepdaughter with me, I took my wife with me, and when you kind of go into a meeting, right? I mean, she was like leading, she was the point person in every meeting that we had, right? So I was just kind of there, just in the background, and but you walk into a room and like they automatically kind of gravitate to talk to me. And I'm like, no, I'm not leading this. You should talk to her, right? She's the one that's kind of in charge here. I'm not the one in charge. And it's so difficult when that's typically the sort of the stereotype for that type of scenario, right? And I know it's changing, but I still think we've got such a long way to go, right? So for me, like to be able to have ladies like you on to kind of talk to me today, educate me, hopefully educate my audience about the community that you have with LinkUnite, and obviously your participation in it, and some really good sort of life advice for people that are either in the industry already looking to kind of get on to the next level up, or looking to kind of break into the industry for the first time, because that's my mission is to kind of try and help educate and develop the next generation of, in my case, media buyers, but it could be affiliate marketers or whatever, people that work in digital marketing in one way, shape or form, right? That's what I kind of like live and breathe, is just I'm there to try and support the industry in whatever way I can, because the better the industry does, the better the world does, I think, as a result of it. I think when you look at the amount of money that's being spent online now in whatever way, obviously, Kali, you pay me, process all the money, which is such an integral part of the whole process. And yeah, I just think there's so much that kind of like bonds it all together that I just think it's important that we collectively work as a team to get the best results that we can.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Yeah, indeed. I was just going to add to that, Jimmy, like let people do what they do best, and you don't have to be the smartest at everything. I tell my kids that. I always ask somebody smarter than me at this or this and this. I know what I know, but if I don't know, don't be afraid to ask. And if somebody tries to make you feel less than because you are asking, that's on them. That's, maybe that's not the right person you should be working with or playing with or hanging out with.
Yeah, I've always don't be saying you got to train people as the best you can, give them the kind of the boundaries and parameters in which they can operate, right? Where their sort of limitations are, because there has to be some, right? And then get the fuck out of the way and let them get on with it, right? Because if you try and micromanage them, I've seen so many people try and micromanage the living daylights out of people, right? It's not going to be good for them, and it's not going to be good for your company. So,
no, not at all.
So
not at all.
So, Kaylee, you're probably going to go and get cocktails now in Malta, which I'm jealous of.
Yes, I have a white party, a dinner and party and drinks and all that good stuff.
We're so jealous.
Yeah, you look good, girl. You're rocking.
Yeah, you're looking good.
But
I love it.
Honestly, I was like super nervous about putting this together. I'm so glad that we persevered. It was actually getting you on was with the easiest I've had in terms of trying to get guests to coordinate. So thank you for being so accommodating. And obviously, thank you for taking over the kind of the conversation while I was having my technical issues. It only remains to
You got your back.
it only remains to say that all of the ladies' details will be available in the show notes for the episode. It will be available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever else you consume your podcast information. Make sure you tell your friends about Bad Decisions with Jim Banks. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Katie's got turned the lights out.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Banksy. I appreciate it. It's lovely to see you ladies
Yeah.
too.
Happy
Lovely.
holidays.